I really like video games, especially games with a deep lore and a story behind it. In fact, some of my favorite games of all time are those where lore and world building are truly immersive. If you are watching YouTube during 2023, you've probably been bombed by one of these.
You guys got a lot of nerve.
And the Silver Mane Guards are Bellabog's indestructible shield.
And I remember seeing the ads and thinking, bruh. Earlier this year, my friend group had a short Genshin phase, and I know that this is not honkaistarrail, but stick with me for a second. I haven't played Genshin since its release, but I reinstalled it anyway and got my AR12 account back. After memeing on Genshin players and the game for a couple years now, at first I was skeptical, having only played the game briefly during its release. Yet, as I dived back in, I found myself very surprisingly captivated by the Archon quests. It was a really nice breath of fresh air after playing game multiplayer games like Overwatch and League for a couple months. I had forgotten how much I enjoyed the story and the world building in video games. My Genshin phase lasted a couple weeks or so. I got a few characters, leveled up a little, but it did eventually come to a stop. However, this left me wanting to try other gachas. I was eager to explore other games and narratives, and naturally, I turned to Honkai, developed by the same creators of Genshin. But I was the only one to start this, as all my friends just said, "Me when turn-based game?" But I didn't really mind because my most played mobile game is turn-based. So over a year after its release, I finally downloaded honkaistarrail to try it. If my 2023 self saw me installing this game in the future, I would have been dying laughing and making fun of myself for installing a trash weeb game. But I would have had no idea that it would have my favorite story quest of all time. Not counting Herta Space Station, Starra has 3 planets or areas that have been released so far, with them being Yarilo 6, Xianzhou Luofu, and Penacony. I really liked Yarilo 6. It felt very completed, but I don't think it's to the point of being one of my favorites, though it does have my favorite character in the entire game. And the Xianzhou Luofu was honestly pretty forgettable. No offense, but that's my personal opinion. Then comes Penacony. If you haven't played the main story from patch 2.0 till now, I highly recommend you playing through those before you watch this video because, yes, there will be spoilers. Because of my lack of enjoyment in the Xianzhou Luofu story, I wasn't expecting too much in the next area. But I had absolutely no idea what will come next will become my favorite story quest in any games I've ever played. Penacony is basically a huge luxurious hotel where, if you're lucky enough to be invited over, you get to explore the virtual world or dreams through these things called dream pools that each room in the hotel comes equipped with. I think the closest thing I can compare this to is the Oasis from Ready Player One, but not everyone has access to it. It's only the exclusive people that are invited to Penacony that are given access to enter the dream. My writing skills are not that good, so putting why I love Penacony art so much into words is probably going to sound much cooler in my head than to you guys. But try to stick with me. So anyway, what makes this quest so special? How does it stand out as my all-time favorite? And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure. There isn't like a specific thing, more like a combination. First, just to look at it, I remember just loading into the lobby and just going, wow. The cutscenes are also just top tier. From the animations to the sound effects, paired with the story, made me so excited and wanting more. I mean, just look at this.
I wish to mourn the departed, weeping like rain, to swell the crossing stream. As the tide arrives, leading you back home.
Then the characters. This quest brings some of my favorite characters in Star Rail. Not my favorite though, my girlfriend's chilling in Bellabug, though these guys are almost on par with her. I saw that many people found the story to be boring and long, but I completely disagree. The areas were all so breathtaking, and the story and the entire 20-hour questline had me intrigued all the way through. Because if I go over the entire story, the video will be too long and my writing skills won't be able to keep up, I will focus on interactions with one character throughout the story. This is Firefly. We meet Firefly pretty early on into the story. After we first enter the dream by falling through the sky and meeting these two guys, we stumble upon a little girl being surrounded, and being the gentlemen we are, we beat their shit, only to be interrupted by this bartender. We then find out that those guys were looking for a stowaway, a person who entered the dreamscape without an invitation from the family, and they thought the girl was a suspect. The girl introduces herself as Firefly and takes us for some sightseeing. So after we spend all her money and some sightseeing, she invites us to her secret base. And once we reach there, Firefly gives us some of the best lines of dialogue I have ever heard in a video game.
And it's likewise for me. I have a wish I want to achieve so badly in the real world. But I can't. So, I want to give it a shot here. So how could I possibly resist it? I mean, can you imagine? I can actually free myself from this icy medical cabin in this dream. I can forget about all the doctor's advice. I can listen and see and touch and think and understand whatever I want with my body. So although this world isn't real, this experience is priceless. Just like this moment.
This is when it's revealed that she really was lying and that she really is the stowaway. From this, we also learn that she suffers from something called entropy loss syndrome, where she will slowly fade away from existence. We later learn that this was because she was a soldier who was purely created to fight in a war, and the entropy loss syndrome is caused by a genetic modification when she was created. This was probably because the government was paranoid, and it was a way to ensure that the secrets known by the soldiers will eventually die with them. She also mentions that because of her condition, she is confined to an icy medical cabin, and the dreamscape is the only place that she gets to feel alive, normal. And for those who are still confused on her situation, think Mekamaru. Oh, you don't know Mekamaru? Then... As Firefly reveals to us her hopes and dreams, we end our touching moment together with a picture, and we head back to leave the dreamscape. This little moment with Firefly felt special. It felt different. While our relationships with other characters in the game are predominantly platonic, the bond we're forging with Firefly feels different. It feels deeper, more significant, and profoundly more meaningful. It is also hinted in many of the character trailers for Firefly that the bond between us will go further than just being friends. But yeah, back to the story. Some stuff happened, you and Firefly almost die, and yeah. You wake up in reality only to find not a single trace of Firefly anywhere. After searching, you finally run into her in the dreamscape, realizing that she never left the dreamscape. Happy to see her, you rush over, calling her name. Finally, is this the reunion with Firefly?
Sorry.
Not only did this scene put me into shock, but it also made me realize how much you actually cared for Firefly. This is the first time you experience the death of someone close to you, and it leaves you devastated. This is the last we hear of Firefly for a while. Later in the story, Acheron takes down the first antagonist of Penacony. And it is in this moment you wake up and see a Gundam that saved you from destruction caused by Acheron's attack. The Gundam reveals himself to be Sam, a Stellaron hunter, but then he starts to transform, revealing what is truly beneath all the metal. It's Firefly.
All that I am.
She reveals that after she was impaled, she realized that she was left completely unharmed, hinting that it isn't possible to die in the dream. I'm gonna skip a little here because I feel like I've been talking about Firefly for too long. But we get to meet her one last time at the very end of the Penacony arc. You're on this floating ship and you found out that there are bombs planted on it. As you and your friends go around disabling the bombs, Firefly stumbles upon a bomb that just couldn't be disabled. Firefly decides to make the sacrifice herself to ensure the safety of everyone. You try to stop her, but she doesn't listen. She transforms into Sam and takes off with the bomb. But then,
We have this right, don't we?
what a great conclusion to the relationship between you and Firefly. It's something more than just friends, and yes, I do believe that this is canon. The Firefly trailers made by the official channel of HOYO-MiX further supports this. And man, I'm a very emotional guy, but I have never cried for a story quest in a video game. Until now. And it isn't just this scene. There were multiple. They weren't all just tears of sadness either, but also tears of joy and happiness. Each of these moments were crafted with such emotional depth that it just resonated with me. The scene where Robin enters the fight with Sunday. I don't know why, but every time I think of this little cutscene, it makes me feel so many emotions at once that my heart aches as I can feel the tears build up. There's something so moving about it to me that it never fails me to touch me deeply.
There seems to be another kind of sound coming into the Order Symphony. Penacony's first and last disharmony.
Saddened by a character's sacrifice, and next I was overwhelmed with joy with the reunion. The writing, the voice acting, and the music all came together perfectly to create an immersive and emotional roller coaster. It is rare for a game to evoke such a wide range of emotions, and this quest managed to do it effortlessly. I've played many games with great stories, but none have ever affected me quite like this. It is a testament to the power of storytelling in video games and how they can affect us on an emotional level. If you haven't played the Penacony questline yet, I highly recommend that you go play it. And for those who don't have the game, I'm not going to tell you to install it, but if you really are curious, then I believe that it doesn't hurt giving it a try. Sure, this may be the longest questline in the game, and I do believe that some parts of the story could have been explained much better. But I believe that in the end, none of that matters if the story managed to get to you. Why does life slumber? This has been an idea that has been explored by various characters throughout the quest. The question has really stuck with me throughout my playthrough of Penacony. And even now, still thinking about that question, I am still unsure of the true meaning behind it. Everyone can have a different view on what it means, but I believe that this is what makes this so beautiful. So in the end, why does life slumber?
Because someday we will wake from our dreams.